ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the penultimate episode of the Quentin Tarantino Retrospective. Because I don't count the review. That's not the retrospective. We're not retrospecting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah,
you know?
so wouldn't this be the last retrospective then?
No, we got the rankings. That's a retrospective of his entire career.
That's like a half episode.
That's like a over... Because that includes one non-retro.
Not to me. Not to me.
That's fair.
You guys can believe in God. I don't have to. You know, it's all up to me.
That's true. That's true.
We are... I guess I should introduce... you guys go, because I got to pull up my nickname. I wrote it down.
I am the Hangman, Dylan Muss.
I am the General, Kirkland Patzer.
Nice.
I am certainly not Buster. I'm Trask now.
Hey.
We are reviewing The Hateful Eight. This is the last episode as far as before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Then we'll be doing a review the day after, whenever it is. That will be me, Kirkland, and Dylan. So that's very exciting. We're very, very close. So if you want, check out every single episode now. We've finished this whole catalog from now Reservoir Dogs all the way to here, Hateful Eight. So
It's been a fun ride.
It's been a fun ride, yeah.
It has been.
I'm going to drop the synopsis, and then one of you two are going to start talking and tell me about why you like or don't like this movie.
Roger.
Hateful Eight, 2015. In the dead of winter, a bounty hunter and his prisoner find shelter in a cabin currently inhabited by a collection of nefarious characters.
That sounds like...
I think it's pretty close to Death Proof, to be honest.
It sounds like a synopsis for like a Spidey like the animated show.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know
a little
why.
bit.
The word nefarious just kind of throws me for a loop.
Nefarious.
It's definitely accurate, though. I love this movie personally. I think this is the first Tarantino movie I ever saw in theaters. Actually, back in the day, and since then I've probably seen it 3 or 4 more times. This might have been my 5th rewatch, actually. It's a really fun movie. It's once again like I guess almost like Death Proof in the sense that it's like just so little set pieces, right? You have pretty much just like one spot for like most of this movie, or really just kind of two or three like locations the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's very simplistic in that sense, but it's just that great dialogue. It's almost like a best of cast from like Tarantino's films.
Yeah.
Like there's probably 6 or 7 people who have been in his other movies. So it's really fun to see them all together. And personally I love like bluffing games, things like that. So to like just watch this movie and see all the characters as they share like just little tidbits of the backstories, like or how like some characters know each other. It's really fun just like uncovering that. And every time I rewatch it, I kind of forget like a couple little details. So it's fun to kind of put it back together again every time I watch it. So overall, I really love this movie. I love the music. I love the themes. I love all the writing and the characters. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it's quite as like explosive as a couple of his other movies, but it's still a fun ride every time I watch it again.
Cool. Yeah, this was my first time watching this movie, and I'd started watching it a while ago, but kind of fell asleep because I started watching it late. And is this his longest movie, like not including the 2 Kill Bills?
Ooh.
With like just like in theaters, because there's ones where he's kind of edited and put in other
I feel like
scenes.
this and Django are comparable in length.
I think this
Django
might be a
similarly.
little longer, but I can look that up. Yeah.
It was interesting though, because as opposed to like another long one like Django has a lot more action, I feel, than this one, whereas this one, like you said, it's very simplistic, very like basic setting, like it's almost play like, right, where like it's all taking place in like this one this one little hut. And but it just shows like the quality of like Tarantino's dialogue that he gives out, because like for the first half of the movie, there's no action really. Like people are like kind of holding guns, but they're not really like, I don't know, murdering people.
Yeah.
But like I'm just so into it. Like anyways, it's just there's great characters, like you said. It's almost like a best of. It's great like seeing, especially doing this retro where we've seen all these characters before and then we're getting them back in. Tim Roth's character totally felt like Christoph Waltz in a way.
I thought it was the first time I saw the movie.
He was it was just really fun.
And we haven't seen him since Pulp Fiction. It's been a while since he's been in a Tarantino
that's
film,
right.
So.
Yeah, especially since
because he's in the first 2 and then gone,
that's right. No, he's great though in this. I feel like a lot of them are just like excellent. Mads Mikkelsen is a little.
Mads Mikkelsen.
What did I?
Michael Mads.
I wish Mads Mikkelsen was in a Tarantino movie.
We kind of made this joke on a previous one. It was just like he always seems to just have like a very similar role in like whatever movie he's
Quiet,
in.
badass,
raspy voice,
lines,
mysterious.
Yeah, exactly. But like everyone else, I really really liked, and I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch it to see how, like, because I feel like in your position, you've seen it 5 times. You kind of like are looking out for like things, whereas like for me, I had no idea what was going on. So like. We'll go into it, but my overall is just I really really like this movie, and I'm excited to rewatch it again.
Nice.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to rain on the parade a little bit. I can't join you at the 3. I still like the movie. I always say that Disney and Tarantino have more in common than you'd think, as far as they just most of the time know how to put out a good quality movie. Acting's good. I agree, Dylan. The score is phenomenal. Might be his best scored movie. It's so
it's
damn
most
good.
Like, it has the most presence of like original score, right?
100%.
Usually he uses soundtracks.
So yeah, that's great. Acting's great. I guess it just nothing really for me to latch on in this story. I think this kind of suffers from because we kind of did it in a weird order, but we did Death Proof in our timeline, and then we did this. That was only just about 2 hours and some. This to me is, I think, another one that suffers from you could easily cut. I think there's some fun interactions, but then I think there's some interactions that really, this is my third time viewing it. And when I watched the first time, and I still liked the movie, when I watched the first time, like, I think I enjoyed it, but I was underwhelmed. And the second time I watched it, I think it was when it first came to Netflix, and I was kind of in and out. So this is my next time sitting down and watching it. I thought it would rank higher, but honestly, I think it's going to rank pretty low, and I've been disappointed by a few of them on like watching them this way, and I just don't think I latch on to any of the characters really. I think this is a movie where if people don't like Tarantino style as far as it being long, and it's funny, we used to be on the podcast, Liam and I were talking about Once Upon, and we were talking about like the summer's kind of disappointing the movies, and I said, Once Upon a Time Hollywood's coming out. He's like, I don't know, I'm kind of done with Tarantino. What do you mean? He goes, well, sometimes I just feel like it's so long and there's not much of a point to it. I go, I don't know. And then I watched this movie right after, and it's like, oh man, and maybe he like mind fucked me and got in there, but I don't agree with that, because Django for me is a super long movie. This movie's 3 minutes longer, by the way, than Django. So there you go. So there's movies that are Tarantino that are very long that work for me. Even Bastards, I think, works for me better than this. But I just think there's some interactions you could cut. I think I really like Sam Jackson, but I don't even think it's as interesting as a role as he has in Jackie Brown, which I think Jackie Brown is still his weakest movie. I prefer that character. I think... there's nothing too memorable for me other than a few set pieces, but I think if you don't like Tarantino, this has all the problems. It has his best of cast, but then I think it has all the worst of his problems. It has that. I think when some people kind of complain with Django that he was maybe taking advantage of the situation and dropping like a lot of profanity and N-words, I never saw it that way, because I thought that was kind of the point of the movie. I think this movie kind of skirts on that line a little bit, where I feel there's so many times where the N-word is used in this movie. I don't think it's needed, especially because that last movie was about slavery and race, and that played a big portion into it. And it just feels like sometimes, some people have accused him, and this movie felt like an excuse sometimes just to say it a bunch. And I'm not offended. I'm not going to be offended for other people. It just caught me off guard. I was like, yeah, I didn't remember that much in there. So I'm trying to think. And then when there's the twist, it's fun, and the whole review, I like going backwards. But I think at the back half, which doesn't work for me, is I don't think Channing Tatum is like an amazing actor, so I think Jodie needed to be some character like a Christoph Waltz, like a Leo with Calvin Candy, something really memorable, and I find he's just very bland, so that whole part of the movie I don't really care about, because it's a lot of him and his gang. His gang's kind of just going around shooting people with gumballs and whatnot, but he's driving a lot of the force acting-wise, and I remember when I heard he was in, like, oh, this is going to be great, he's going to turn it up, and I'm just kind of bored by it, and I'm bored a lot of times in this movie, but I think that character needed someone really strong acting-wise, and I think he's a good actor, but not enough to carry that role. Like, even someone like Ving Rhames, when he's playing Marcellus, you feel that presence. I don't really feel that with Jodie when it turns to it. I like the movie. It's fine, but I think this was the one next to Jackie Brown I would definitely rewatch the least. We'll get into it in rankings, but like I have problems with Bastards, but there's Piers, that film I love, and you got like Christoph Waltz just killing it. Even Death Proof, like I said, I have problems, but you have Stuntman Mike. For me, there's not that thing I latch onto that, I'm going to go back for that. I'll watch it because it kind of is like a franchise. It completes the set, but this is definitely the one that I'll watch the least. And now watching for a third time again, kind of like sitting down, fully sitting with it. I did not love it. I was even more underwhelmed than the first time. So that's my thoughts. But score is great. I love the score.
Yeah, score is fantastic. I want to touch a couple things that you mentioned there because it's interesting. One, I've always, like the other times I've watched this movie, I've always felt the same on the pacing, where I felt like it was a bit too long. For some reason, this time watching it was the one time where I wasn't like bored at any point. I didn't feel like dragged on. I don't know why that is. Maybe it was because when we're watching these movies for the podcast, it's much different, where I'm taking notes at the same time, paying attention to everything as much as I can. I feel like this movie offers a lot in that sense, in that, just because of like the wide lens he used or film, whatever it is he used for this movie, right? The shots are really wide. You can see so much. Yeah. And it's like, it's really important what all the characters are doing at all times. Like, that's something that we talked about on the Inglourious Bastards episode. Like in the bar scene, it's like the people in the background, yes, they're just playing a game. It's not really that integral to the plot, but it's like really purposeful what they're doing. It's like really interwoven in the scene. And that's the same for this movie, where every character in the background is always up to something. It's important, like where they're standing. And obviously that comes up later with like, okay, who poisoned the coffee? Like if you were paying attention, you could have like noticed that. And it's fun to see like all the little details that come up. And so I don't know, I think maybe just paying attention to all those little things, that's maybe what kept me intrigued in scenes that are a little bit slower paced, I guess.
Yeah, I should shout that as a pro. I do like the murdery mystery aspect. Like that sense of fun, and like you said, the bluffing, the calling each other out and stuff. I think there's just certain scenes like when Bob and Sam Jackson go to the bar and they have a conversation.
Right.
There's certain times like that.
So that was the second thing, because you mentioned you don't really care much for his Sam Jackson's character.
I don't think not that. I just don't think I said. I don't think it's because
you said his character in Jackie Brown's better than this. I definitely disagree there.
Who's the lead in this movie? If I were to ask you, because I feel like it's Sam Jackson, right? Because he gets top billing, and I just kind of always looked at him as the lead. And I
don't know if I had to pick one. It'd probably be him or Walter Goggins.
Yeah, I just don't find anything too intriguing about him, because we still don't find enough about him. And I like the character in Jackie Brown, what he's doing and whatnot. And I feel that his performance in this is. It's not like Pulp Fiction, but there's kind of a science to it when he's kind of reading.
I think it's less like it's less out there than his character in Django for sure, right? That character's supposed to be like much more wacky. But I think what I really like about him in this movie is like his purpose from just like a movie perspective is he's the character who's like putting all the clues together, right? He's like questioning like Bob, the fact that he's Mexican. He's like, why? Like I didn't know she had family. Why is she going? The stew is still going. What's up with that? He noted like at one point he just looks up at the shelf and you can see that he's looking at the lack of. There's like a candy jar that's not there, and to him that's weird. So that's why I think is so interesting about his character. He's the one who's trying to figure it all out. He's putting all the clues together, whereas everyone else, like obviously most of them are in on it, so they're just trying to not draw suspicion. The old guy doesn't really do anything, and then. Kurt Russell's character.
A terrible way his son passes. Yeah. It's just a wild story.
And then Kurt Russell, like, since he's never been there before, he doesn't really pick up on any of the weirdness of what's going on there. So he's just kind of chilling, doing his thing. So I think that's really his purpose, and I found that really interesting because really you don't find out a ton of information on characters' backstories. On like Chris, for example, you never find out if he's actually like supposed to be the sheriff. He just says that, and that's what I love about this movie is you don't really know a lot of it even after watching it so many times. Like there's just so many details that you're not supposed to know, so it's fun that he can put these details together or explain like this is what it should be like at the haberdashery and this is why it's different and this is why I'm suspicious of you, and I think that's what I find so interesting about his character, even if it's not like an inherently a character thing, it's like his purpose within the movie.
I liked what you said there, how like no matter, I mean I've only seen it once now, but like just after watching it once, like there's still so many things, like open-ended questions I have on like specifically a lot of the characters. Like you mentioned Chris, like is he really the sheriff? It's like, oh, you'll know if they get to Red Rock. They never go to Red Rock, so how the hell are we supposed to know?
Even like where the fuck did he come from in that snowstorm? Like where was he coming from?
Yeah, exactly. And then I had those like same questions on like Joe Gage and stuff. Obviously now I know he was like a gang member and all those things, but I just remember like earlier in the movie I'm like, I can't wait for them to get a Red Rock and like have all these things. I was a little, I mean, I don't want to say I was let down in that fact, but it was just like, oh, definitely not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then, what else was I going to say? I forget where I was going with that, but just quickly to mention on what you're saying about the Channing Tatum character, Jody, I think I kind of feel the same because for how important that character should have been, like he's like basically the gang leader of whatever his gang was called. Was it just
Jody's gang.
Okay, that's nice and easy.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think it was maybe it was their last name because when he dies, she's like, "I'm the leader of this gang now." So maybe it was their last name.
Yeah,
I should have wrote that down.
But
either way, their gang.
Either way, but like I definitely feel the same way as you do though. Like I feel like a character that isn't in it that much, but he should have like a lot of like gravitas in that role. Like you should really be like, holy crap, this guy feels like the main honcho. And I didn't really feel that way. And I don't know. I feel like it didn't hurt too much just because he wasn't in it a lot.
Right.
But at the same time,
I definitely agree. But yeah, he has like 10 or less minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
So
it's
hard to.
I agree. It's just that Tarantino uses that trope so much of he saves a character to bring in, and usually they have such impact. Like we talked about Django, that build up to Calvin, and that's much different. But even with Marcellus Wallace, he has only one segment, and that just feels so. It's that's a classic Tarantino thing of you're building up who's this person, or there's something going on. What's the reveal going to be? And I think that I'd have to go back every time, but I feel like he usually nails that in the park. And I don't know how Channing Tatum was cast, because originally I didn't put in the trivia, but they were looking at like older actors and whatnot. And I know Channing Tatum, he was in the press saying he tried really hard for it. So good for him. It's just that I feel that I guess that's the weird thing, that even in the movies I've had problems with, I usually never see the actors, and this the whole time I feel like it's Channing Tatum. Where
that's a good point.
Sam Jackson, I feel like whether I like or not this role, I feel a difference between this role and Jackie Brown and Django and everything like that. And I could say it with Tim Roth. With him, it feels like I'm watching Channing Tatum, and it's always
even like the just like the costume design, really. He doesn't really have anything of interest. Whereas you look at like the character like Bob, and I saw I was watching a couple interviews, and like I didn't recognize that was him, right? Because he's so covered up. And that's kind of for all the characters. Like they all look very different than they do in real life, but except for Channing Tatum. So he kind of sticks out more.
I gotta say, I absolutely love Kurt Russell's character in this movie. His look, like, it might just be because it's Kurt Russell, but his look is just so good with that little like handlebar mustache he's got going.
Big ass.
It's not little.
Like I love when his dad, his jacket's so big. He's just like this huge.
He's like a
thing
bear.
He's this huge object in the room at all points. You can never miss him.
Yeah,
so.
I love that part too, because when he takes everyone's gun, disassembles them, he's like, Obi, go take this out. He's like, why is that to me? He's like, you already got your jacket on. Meanwhile, Kurt Russell's just got this like bear jacket. Like he looks so like over the top. It's great. But no, I absolutely loved his character in this. And then one thing that kind of caught my mind was Judy. Was that the same person from Death Proof? Do you remember who I'm talking about? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoe, whatever her name.
Oh,
like the stunt devil.
Yeah.
I never noticed that before either.
I think since Kill Bill, she's been in everything. I know she's in Once Upon, so he likes her. But since Kill Bill, she's been in every single one of his.
Yeah, I guess because she is technically in Django.
I wonder if she's a stunt double in Once Upon a Time, or is she not?
I don't know. I didn't look. I've only seen the 2 trailers, and that's about it. TV spots I avoid, interviews I avoid. We're 2 days away, so I don't.
I haven't watched anything. But she's a fun character. Like, and then she's just like a very, I don't know, positive, like happy-go-lucky. Like in a movie that's cheery. Just so many nefarious characters, and such a dark movie. It's kind of fun to have that little reprieve, even if it's only for a couple minutes. But I mean, even though it's pretty brutal, because she just gets fucking decked.
Oh yeah. That's like. That's what I mean, though. Like, the whole second half of this movie, like, it just totally changes. Whereas, like, I feel like the first part is just kind of introducing the characters, and then just, I don't know, like, setting the scene, setting the tone of, like, kind of what it's going to be like. And then once, I don't know, guns start blazing, it's just wild. And then classic Tarantino fashion, especially when Marquise, I guess that's his name, when he like just blows Bob's face off.
I know. I kind of forget it every time. I'm just like, it's ridiculous. It's so
I love that part too. He's like, well, he's not worth anything now. Oh no, that's great.
And a big shout out, because I think she does a really good job as Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh yeah,
she does a really good job for a role that could be pretty minimal. And I think that's what I kind of mean is, like, even though she's in the movie a lot, she's not doing much in the movie, but it's her in the background, it's her facial expressions, it's her doing things, whether it's directed that way or her choice or written that way. She does a good job, because that could easily just be a boring role. So
is this Domergue?
Yeah.
Okay,
so the whole time she's just like,
she's got that creepiness on lock.
Yeah, and then even when her brother gets killed right in front of her, his brains all over, like, just making that deal quickly. And I've always loved that aspect of the movie, when it's those three trying to like make a deal and whatnot and talk and everything. So that I got to give her a big shout out, because I think she's probably I like Russell and Sam Jackson, but I think she just gives the best performance because she has a lot less to do than them. Like, they have great dialogue to say this and that, where she has to work with very little, and she pulls it off. So
yeah, she definitely does. And it was funny though, because near the end of the movie, that one character, I just wanted her to die so bad. So when they finally hang her, when they finally hung her, I was just like almost cheering. Like, I was like, this character has to die. Like, and then I don't know, you just never know in these types of movies. Yeah. And then especially when Chris just like passes out to the blood loss, I was like, no, how is this happening? But I definitely felt satisfied when she was dead. But she was absolutely great though, because especially she didn't have as many lines as some of the other characters, but just like her body language and just her look, it was just like, oh man, it just, I don't know, speaks for itself.
I like her her confidence, right? Like even when she's like playing the guitar and singing that song and just like hinting at the fact that he's drinking the poison. Yeah, it's fun to see. Like I remember there was like a shot early on. This is before they get to the haberdashery when I think she's looking out at Sam Jackson's character, and she's just like I don't know. Her face is kind of split between like the bar and the.
Oh yeah, it shows her bruise on one side and like her cut, and then on the other side it just looks like kind of normal.
Yeah,
it was in the stagecoach, right?
Yeah, in the stagecoach. That's the word I was looking for. Really, really cool shot, and she's just so like creepy in that scene, right? But yeah, she's just so much fun throughout. It's as you said, like it's a really difficult performance because there isn't a ton of dialogue, and at the same time she's like strapped to Kurt Russell the whole time, which is a fun dynamic I thought for this movie. How they always have to move together and like the logistics of it.
When he gets punched, he just goes flying out that wagon.
Yeah. And then it happens again when he hits her, and then they fall on the ground. It's a fun dynamic. I want to touch on one last thing on Jody. I guess like his character is. I think they definitely should have done like some sort of costume to make him like not fit in as much, but I like that it's like a callback to Inglourious Basterds, kind of like the slow zoom in like underneath the floorboards when he reveals his character. That's kind of a fun. He does a lot in his movies, but I like that.
Shoot Sam Jackson's nuts right off.
Yeah,
that was gruesome.
Hot and cold.
One other thing I wanted to just quick thing I wrote in my notes. It was fun in the stagecoach between Kurt Russell, Domergue, and Marquise when he first pulls out the Lincoln letter. It was an interesting. I don't know if this was intentionally, but it was just like an interesting like sunlight coming in on the letter that he was handing out. It just felt like the Bible. Yeah, exactly. Like it was such like
almost like the briefcase in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely get that vibe.
Yeah,
right?
I love like
you to actually get the reveal of it, and then as he reads it is pretty interesting.
I don't know. I noticed that, and I just thought it was really neat, and I'm sure it was intentionally because it's they just put so much emphasis on this document that it's like it's the Holy Grail, right? And I don't know. I loved it, and then especially when she just spits on it and he just smacks her, goes flying.
Even the first time I saw him, like I knew this. Not in a bad way. I'm just like, don't show her this letter. Like, what are you doing? And then it's so good. And
it's awesome that he reacts that way, even though the letter is fake, right? Like he just goes along with it the whole way, it's so fitting. I love that. Yeah, that whole sequence is a lot of fun when Walton shows up as well. When I guess his name's Chris. I love like the dynamic of that fucking stagecoach. Those four characters going back and forth is so much fun.
Yeah,
it's awesome because he was in Django in like a very similar character, getting typecast there. Even in like Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's the same kind of character. Yeah. But he has so much more content in this movie, and it shows like how good he is at playing that character and how he keeps it dynamic and fun. And I like every time I see this movie again, I think he's the character the most that like stands out to me and like
I agree.
Really grows on me. He's just so good, and I just want to see him in more stuff. And I want to see him in another Tarantino movie.
He's super underrated. I've been saying that for a while. I got really excited when they cast him Ant-Man and the Wasp. He played like I guess a villain, but I'd say like a Loki type of villain on a TV show called Justified. It was 5 seasons, and I really liked it. But it was just kind of like back and forth thing, and that's where I fell in love with him. And then same thing, we've seen him in Tomb Raider and even Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's not bad, but it's just like this guy's so talented, and he just hasn't. I guess they're on paper right decisions, but I don't think anything that really flushes out his talent. And he's really good. I don't like love the character because I don't think they need it. Like I guess at times, but I don't think they really need to make him so heavily racist. I don't think it was needed. They could have just made a back and forth as far as him kind of disrespecting the colonel in the chair, because that they already have like a wedge there. And I guess a problem with that little set piece as well, when that colonel gets killed, they never. Walton Goggins is like really into like, oh my god, and like he's like, you don't talk to him like that. When he's killed, he never says a single thing about it. I know we jump forward, and I actually wish Tarantino narrated more of the movie. I really like that.
Yeah.
It's a fun like cameo, like without a cameo.
Catch you up, yeah.
Yeah, but that's always been strange to me that they just drop it. I know it could have been a few hours, but still it felt like a big plot point, especially. So I felt like there's already enough to drive a wedge between these people, and then like I said, adding the racism thing, I don't think it was needed, especially because one, I don't think it was needed overall, but two, he did just do that in Django, so it was a little strange to kind of double back. He's just kind of like the nicer racist this time, So
yeah, well, it's interesting that he like really teams up with him.
They kind of have to, though, right?
He definitely has to, but it does kind of feel like there's some camaraderie built up there, like even like wanting to see the letter. And just
at the end,
I really like that scene. It's kind of like softer music as well. It's kind of like a pseudo happy ending for a Tarantino movie, and I don't know, it's a pretty fun dynamic between those two.
I just wanted to touch upon the two things that you said, like well, first of all, this character, I feel, or the actor in general, I feel like he's just grown on me so much. Like, especially from this role. I don't know, I just like him a lot more because everything I've seen him in, he's just kind of like a slime bag, you know, like he just has those roles.
But he's always like a more minor character.
No, exactly. But in this one, I feel like he's, I don't know, I just seen more of him and I really liked it. And then just going back to like this, I don't know, he was a little more racist. He was like a part of like the Southern like Civil War thing. So I don't know, I kind of just put it on that. So I don't know. Even from the time he first meets like Sam Jackson, that's just the way he is. And I feel like that's just the way he was growing up. So for me, it's just kind of, I don't know, it made sense for that character to be like that. And then the other thing was when Marquis shot like the general or like the old dude before. Oh no, sorry. When Marquis was just telling him the story, super detailed story. Yeah. But Chris Mannix even says like don't let him get under you. He just wants you to pick up that gun. So I feel like him, I don't know, not being super upset that how he died. Like he knew that if you picked up that gun, it's just self-defense, right? So I don't know. I kind of put some reasoning.
Yeah, exactly. It's also like he just killed that guy. I don't want to be on this guy's bad side.
Yeah, true. I just think the fact that he took time to call him out, he would later on still be bugging him. Like he could be questioning, like, well, is that story true? Like you were setting him up. You tried to kill him. I think that could have drove even more of a wedge. And it's not even that I needed a bigger wedge. Just they don't even talk about it after. Tarantino narrates it, and then it's just like you're supposed to forget about it until he's brought back to the flashback. And it's always a weird point. I like the setup. I love Bruce Dern in that scene when Samuel Jackson's telling the story. Just the look of frightenedness on his face.
It just zooms in.
Yeah, Bruce Dern, and he used to be very popular back in like the 70s, 80s. He was a big actor, but he is, and Tarantino's fan because he was in Django. He was Django's original slave owner. I'm not sure.
Right, the dude with the glasses.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna give him an R, like that sort of deal. So, that he just sells it so perfectly, and I think he does a great job. Like I said, I like all the acting in here, other than I'd say Channing Tatum. He does a great job. Even that scene when Channing Tatum is talking to him, like, I'll ask about what your name is. I'll say nothing. I'll sit here. You know, like I love his, you know, I don't care about him. I don't care about you. I'm just sitting here. He's just such a good curmudgeon-y old guy. But that scene in particular, just the way he sells that story is crazy. And you can believe that he would go to shoot him. So even though I don't even know if that story is real, to be honest. I know that it's like the sheriff thing. It's debated.
It's
like,
super over the top.
Yeah. I actually don't think, in my mind canon, it's not. I think he just knew he could get under this old man's skin. And he did. Just because it's just like you happen to find his son in this. And maybe that could be the case. But in my head canon, it's just like, I'm going to kill this guy and find a way, and I'm going to make up the story, and then the guy...
Yeah, it's like even why would he walk through the snow for like hours or days without a horse or something?
Yeah, all he says is like, because I knew he was your son, but it's still like, you did a lot just to like kill this guy and punish him. That's why I've always had in my head canon that, no, this story's not true. He just like made a really gross, grotesque story. And I remember the first time I saw that, it was just like, because the whole movie I'd say is more in the... kind of because I'd say there's parts in all Tarantino movies where they go off the rails, but I think this is more like the Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs for up until that part, and then when that happens, that gets into like the Django. I feel like when that story happens, the movie switches into like more Django, Kill Bill territory where they start doing over the top stuff. That story's over the top. The way they all vomit, that could happen, but it's very Horace, over the top.
They
like
keep
they're
going
just,
back to it.
He vomits in her face, and everything like that. So I feel like there's a big shift in this movie. I'm not saying that's bad, but I feel like it's very kind of first half Tarantino, kind of early days Pulp, and then the next half she's like, we're going crazy, you know, like even imagery, like when they hang her and she still has like Russell's handcuffed to her and things like that. There's just some weird, kooky, dark stuff that happens in the back half of this movie. So
absolutely.
One thing I really like when they a couple aspects with when they jump back in time and you see the gang showing up at Minnie's Haberdashery and you see what happened there. One thing I really like is the opening shot. It's like them all getting out of the stagecoach and it's just like zoomed in on their boots for a while.
Yeah.
I think it was a cool shot. Even just like, you know, the highlight on like the step outside of the stagecoach and it just like rocks up and down every time is really nice shot. And then the other thing I like is when, I forget who it is one, it's like the assistant that works there, somebody is up on the ladder and then someone shoots her and then
Tim Roth shoots her.
Yeah, Tim Roth falls and she drops like the candy jar all over the ground. Obviously that's the candy jar that was missing that Sam Jackson's character was looking at. But that's just like a classic Tarantino thing that happens in Django with like the candy bowl spilling on the ground. It happens in Kill Bill when like the cereal goes and spills all over the ground.
He loves messes.
He likes doing those like colorful explosions on the ground, which I thought was like a fun callback to do.
It's a good thing you pointed out the little pattern of just messes that he likes making. It's fun.
Another pattern that we've brought up on a few episodes is the door, the classic door scene. And obviously this movie has a huge highlight on the door, which is a gimmick that I really, really love in this movie, right? Just like this dynamic of, you see in that prequel shot why that door is broken, right? Because they shot like a bullet through it. But it's just so much fun. Anytime someone walks into the door, for them to
I love when they're all just yelling,
out. Yeah.
Close the door! No, you need 2 boards.
What I like about it is it's kind of like the only it's like the one unifying factor between all of these characters, right? Like even Daisy Domergue, as soon as they get in, like the next person that walks in, she's like yelling, "Close the fucking door! You need 2 boards! Go, the hammer's there!" I thought that was like such a fun dynamic. It keeps like, I don't know, it's just like a reoccurring joke, but it's so well done and it's so like believable at the same time because it does look bloody cold there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was definitely like one of my favorite parts of just like the first half, like just the emphasis on that door. And then obviously we've talked about how Tarantino just likes to bring in,
he likes his door shots.
He likes his door shots. And it was funny too, because the first time, I think it's Kurt Russell's character and Domergue like come through, they kick the door open and you just see the 2 characters, but you hear like 3 different voices, and it's Joe Cage's like super raspy, almost like John Marston type voice, and like you don't even see him. So I'm like, where is this guy? Like, is he the bartender? Like, I don't understand. And he's just like so like, I feel like everyone's just pissed off anytime the door gets open. It's just so fun. And then obviously, since this was my first time watching it, I just remember like, oh, they got to explain how that door got broken. And then when they finally did, I was like, okay, I felt satisfied with it.
yeah, it's good.
One other thing that was in my notes I just want to mention was back to like before they get to Minnie's haberdashery. Haberdashery. What is that, by the way? I didn't actually know.
Kind of like a bread and breakfast back then.
Yeah, I guess so. Like a shop.
Okay. It's supposed to be like, and I think I guess it's kind of like a restaurant. I think it's kind of known to be like you'd be a pit stop there, for a few hours, rest, to put your feet on the coals,
Cool. I didn't know, so I'm glad you guys knew. But
I'm just assuming based on like context.
When we open up a Geek First restaurant, we'll call it the Haberdashery.
The Geek First Haberdashery.
I like it.
I'm going to get the definition, by the way, just to be sure.
Sure.
But before they get there, when they're in the stagecoach, and like it's a pretty lengthy scene of just them all talking in there, and it's like, again, it could be like another play scene, right? Like it could easily just be a box, then they're just shooting like out, and we just assume that it's a stagecoach. But the fact that they have like OB like in the background, he's constantly just being like, just constantly like talking to the horses.
I
didn't really notice it. Yeah, the subtitles.
Yeah.
So it's constantly
they constant everything. Get in there.
Yeah.
Come on. Every 5 seconds it's OB.
And I loved it though, because it just felt like there was something outside of the stagecoach. Like we're not just watching this one scene. Like there's actually a world out there. And Tarantino does this in all of his movies. He just really fleshes out the worlds. We mentioned on the Pulp Fiction scene when Bruce Willis's character, for some reason
Butch.
thought I was thinking of someone else. But yeah, Butch is like walking through like the back alleyways, and you just get a feel for the world.
You can hear like TVs on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, he just fleshes it out, and I just love anytime he does that, and some he likes doing. So, but yeah, I thought it was neat.
Good shout out.
Haberdashery is a person who sells small articles for sewing, such as buttons, ribbons, and zippers. In the United States, the term refers to instead to a retailer who sells men's clothing, including shirts, neckties, and suits. So I guess we're kind of
not a bed
around
breakfast
there now, but we're gonna
for the context of this movie, it's a pit stop / aim.
I'm gonna open up a haberdashery and have it a bread and breakfast, because it just sounds like
so many guys are gonna show up. Where are the suits? I need to buy a
and I'm
suit.
gonna call it haberdashery hash browns, because it just feels like hash browns should be served at the haberdashery,
right? So. Like nice boil and mash.
Yeah. Stick on a stew
and rolled cigarettes.
No cigarettes.
With the cigarette extensions, Tarantino.
Yeah,
smoking kills.
Smoking does kill.
Show
us to another scene of characters eating food. Everyone gets the stew. Kurt Russell once again eating food like a fucking madman.
That's
so much so that he throws it in her face. A lot of stuff gets thrown in Daisy's face.
She does get beaten the fuck up. I just love too when he's just trying to eat and they're just like chained together. He's like, I'm gonna unlock us or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when he eventually just throws it in her face.
I love how much he just doesn't give a shit about anything. Like even when he gets there and like has the coffee, like spits it all out. This is fucking gross.
All over the floor.
The
What do you think is maybe I didn't catch anything? So when she plays the guitar, he like really enjoys it and he asks her to keep playing. But then at one point he like snaps at her and takes the guitar and breaks it. Is that just because he's a loose cannon? Is there reading?
I assume because in her song she says she's going down to Mexico and John's gonna die.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
then I assumed he just didn't like that because I was watching that part with Shay and she's like, "Why did he do that? That was such a dick move."
Yeah, I honestly think I missed the lyric because I was like, I turned away and then like
I think she says John Ruth.
Yeah.
Maybe she says John. Maybe it's John Ruth. But either way, she's like definitely throwing some shade at him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hothead, just like Death Proof Hothead. You know,
it was a good song though. She's got quite the singing voice.
Yeah, not bad. It definitely like for such a rugged character that quick switch is pretty intense. Yeah. And that's a good transition. Yeah, the music we've kind of touched on it, but I mean the first time I saw this movie, it just like really hit me like how intense that music is. It's so like unsettling, so like omniscient almost. It's so effective. Even like there's only a couple like soundtrack songs. Most of it is like that, just that original soundtrack, which is really fun. But for the soundtrack, I really like in the credits song, the Roy Orbison song that is played. It's like really fitting lyrically to what's like I guess like tying up the story, and then even his voice like kind of fits in well with that kind of like happy ending feel, even though it's definitely not a happy ending for a lot of people. But yeah, really effective like transition in the credits, I felt like. And yeah, I just love that soundtrack so much. It's really good. I
really liked it too. Just like the opening score that they had, like when they show like the Jesus on the cross.
Yeah, that opening scene is awesome.
It's so good too because it's very like I don't know, just eases you into like the feel of what the movie is and just like puts I don't know, you just feel cold like watching that intro scene. And like they have so many scenes in this where whether they're going out to the shit or whether they're going out to the horse, it's just a friggin' blizzard. And like I feel like that opening shot of just like you see, I think it's even before they show like the Jesus on the cross, that like they just show like just a wide shot of like the woods and just cold, and it's just like, man, this is, I don't know, you just feel, for me at least, I was just like, man, I'm really feeling this setting right now.
This movie is why I still think Red Dead opens with like an hour-long mission in the snow.
Because of this. Yeah. It makes sense.
They did that in GTA too, though. What? GTA 5?
Oh yeah, it was a snow
I guess
scene,
it was. But like the one in the Red Dead 2, you're like tronced and the whole thing, and it's like it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I've had.
They just want to show off those snow physics.
100%.
The snow physics are so good.
But to a point, it's like I've been walking in the snow for an hour. I want to shoot a gun already. You know?
I felt cold while playing that.
A couple more characters. One, I just feel so bad for OB.
Yeah,
right?
No,
he's just like seems like a nice guy. He gets like sent outside by Kurt Russell's character, and then he draws the short straw, has to go out again. Drinks the poison, is puking up blood. Like, so, you know, just I mean, we don't really know if he's a good guy or not. He's just a simple.
To think he is.
Yeah, I like to think he is too. He's just a simple stagecoach driver. I just feel so bad for that.
Because at least everybody, I feel like, and that's one thing to me. It's with the characters. There's no one for sure you could say is probably like a straight up good person, but Obi might be that good person. All these people give you the vibe that they've killed people, they've done things they shouldn't have. So yeah, Obi, we don't know that. So
and Minnie, you know, rest in peace, Minnie.
Yeah, Minnie. I really was not expecting like Sweet Dave and Minnie to just, I don't know, be the people that they were. I was assuming Minnie to be very like sour and just like grumpy, and Sweet Dave to just be similar.
Well, especially because she hates Mexicans and dogs, right?
Exactly.
So, but they changed that around.
Also, wasn't expecting them to be African American. So
yeah. I don't know.
Sweet Dave?
I can't remember.
Sweet Dave wasn't.
No, he's an old white guy.
Oh, okay.
I thought he would be though. I forgot. Like watching this time again, I thought he would be.
Ask me if I have a fat ass. Why? Ask me if I have a fat ass. You do. Just ask me.
I like those too. Yeah.
We.
Yeah. Then the poor stable guy. I feel like there's a few innocent people in there that just shit out of the stick.
The people who work there seem like good folk all around.
At the haberdashery.
As you mentioned in your overalls, Tim Roth. First time seeing him in a while in a Tarantino movie. I love his character in this.
His character in this too.
His intonation, just everything he says. Oswaldo Mowbray, just how like he's almost like very fantastical in a way.
Yeah.
But he's just I thought he was Christoph Waltz the first time I saw this movie as well, and he's just so good. Such a different type of character because he's kind of a similar sort of guy. I mean, in Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, one he's a cop, one he's a criminal, but he still like feels almost, you know, kind of similar. You can see why he cast him for those two roles, but this was just such a different role for him, and it was, just such a fun, like, over-the-top character, like, much more, like, animated than the rest of the cast, and it's just, like, fitting, because he's, like, just a total schmoozer, right? He's trying to just, like, get on their good side, just, you know, I wonder if he had planned to go with that play that, I'm the hangman of Red Rock, or if he just kind of said that all willy-nilly to kind of fit in and make his character like him.
Because John was talking about that.
Yeah, like if they knew
respect he has for him.
If they knew he was coming, I'm sure he would have thought of it beforehand. But either way,
well, they probably I think he probably did think of it beforehand because at least everyone knows this legend of the Hangman, he takes Hangman, so at least they probably know.
Obviously, and he had those cards too with him, so he must have been ready.
Yeah, this is who got her. Oh, this is the story we'll spin and whatnot. So
yeah, but I love his.
I absolutely loved his character as well, and then, but just like the similarities between his character in as Waldo, as well as like the dentist from like Django. What's his actual
King Schultz?
King Schultz, yes.
Dr.
King Schultz. They just felt so similar, especially like when he asked Kurt Russell's character for like the warrant, and I don't know why it just felt similar to when like Christoph Waltz like pulls out his warrant. I don't know, it's just totally mirrored almost, but I just really liked it. And then did his accent change when he like was in character? Yeah, okay, I thought so. I felt
it's a bit more. Not to say it's an offensive way, but it like sounds like more higher pitched, like whiny sort of British accent. And then when he's like switches, it's almost like that Cockney British accent.
Yeah, like I it was funny too because when he was actually like I don't know, his gang member, like just who he was. Like I just felt like he felt more of like a hooligan type accent, whereas the other one he felt really like a doctor.
Definitely
almost.
Like a 180,
more distinguished.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure if it was just like. I don't know. He's kind of losing his accent there, but no, it makes sense.
Or maybe it is. Yeah. Bad acting. Oh no, he must have meant it. Yeah.
But I loved his character. I loved his look too, his suit and everything with the little bowler hat. It was great.
Yeah. And then even Bob. I mean, Bob's a pretty simple character. Doesn't have tons of dialogue, but yeah, I love his accent. Is a lot of fun, and even just when he's like playing the song on the piano, and he's like just doing it one finger at a time. Yeah, when he fucks up, he's just like, damn it, and then he just starts from the very beginning, and then eventually he actually starts throwing down like some full on chords and stuff.
And even his dialogue about the chest, like I've tried many times and it just doesn't stay, but I'd like to watch. And they're just like, all right.
I liked his character for the most part. It was just, I think it was like his Spanish accent too was kind of fun, and just his little interactions with everyone. I definitely had some suspicions just with him and Sam Jackson, the barn.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, you can go in, and he's like, you don't want help in this blizzard. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay, there's something going on with it. Nefarious individual.
Nefarious figures.
Yeah, I can't remember my first time as far as like who I was like guessing or worried about, but I do remember I was still always caught off guard that there was 3 of them that were the bad guys. I thought maybe it most too, but the fact that all 3 of them were part of the gang and whatnot, that always still surprised me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was kind of fun just watching it for the first time and not knowing the end result, because I kind of like, I don't know, switched theories on who I thought was the good guy and bad guy, and then I thought Sam Jackson was being a little too like over analytic, and then when he finally pulled off like the blanket on the chair, it was just like that blood stain. I'm like, holy shit, man, Bob the Mexican, he's a bad guy. So it was just fun having that dynamic. The only thing that I wish I didn't know is going into it was Channing Tatum. I knew he was in this movie, so I knew there was another character that had to be around somewhere. So if I didn't know that, I would have no idea that there's that. Obviously, I didn't know he was in the basement, but I knew he had to be in the general area.
Yeah.
But that was my only regret going into it.
Yeah, I don't think I had that like the first time I watched this movie, but yeah, it does always. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, right? That he's just kind of like a nothing character, but he just kind of pops out of there.
I loved his death scene too. I was so satisfied with it. I'm like, someone needs to kill either Don Ragu or him, because like those are those are the main people, like the bad gang. Like the only reason the gang's there is to get Don Ragu.
Yeah. So
either kill her or kill the leader. And then when he finally just exploded his head, I was like, oh yeah,
and
that was
he
awesome.
just like falls back down, and then like
what you doing,
Joe
dummy?
Gage just like closes up the hatch, and it's like, just forget about that guy. He's gone.
Totally.
Seemed like he couldn't decide, so I decided for him, or whatever Sam Jackson says.
Yeah, he's. It's so funny how like over the top he goes with just shooting people,
just
taking them out.
Yeah, it was fun too because, like when he shoots, like after he shoots Jody, and then I think he shoots like near Bob the Mexican. I don't know specifically. I know he shoots Don Ragu in the foot, and then he shoots somewhere else. I was kind of counting.
Shoots Tim Roth again.
Yeah, I was like counting the bullets in my mind, and I'm like, he's kind of getting close, isn't he? And then when he finally went to shoot Don Ragu, I'm like, no, of course. And then Chris does his little speech, and then he passes out. That was just such a fun scene because there was so much like suspense in there. I'm like, Sam Jackson, I know you're in pain, but man, just crawl for that gun. You got to get there.
It's funny when I rewatch this, like you kind of forget that Chris lives to the very end. He feels like a character that would die like earlier.
I thought he was gonna die very early. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that those two are the ones that like end up staying till the very end.
I really liked just how they ended with his character too. Like at the beginning he was like pretty racist and just kind of a dick. It seemed like he was all about just like his daddy, like blah blah blah. Like I'm the sheriff. You guys should just
even like kind of like manipulative, right?
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, especially when he's buddy with Sam Jackson, like he easily could have killed Sam Jackson there, but he was, I don't know, he has morals.
I even found it funny. Sam Jackson's like, come grab this gun. Like you're gonna be on my team now. And he's like, oh, you believe me that I'm gonna be the sheriff? He's like, no, I just know that you were about to drink that coffee.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like, I don't know. I don't think what do you guys think? Do you think he is the sheriff?
Yeah.
He is.
I think he's the sheriff.
The thing that I like the most about him is I think when we meet him, he's a pretty dumb, kind of doofusy character. And if you look at the interrogation at the end, it's Sam Jackson for the most part that's calling out everybody. But then at the very end, he makes that switch of not buying what she's selling, saying, I don't think there's going to be 15. And he's kind of monologuing like Sam Jackson was. So I think you see that evolution of...
And even he was spot on Joe Gage.
Yeah. And if he...
he wasn't spot on everybody.
If he would have lived, this experience would have helped him become a better sheriff. We don't know for a fact he doesn't live. It's 2 days. He's probably dead, as it were not. But if he were to become a sheriff, I think that's the point. Because I think he might not be the sheriff, but I think that story isn't as fulfilling if it's him not, if he's learning all this. If he was just a doofus, then he's just he's a smarter guy, he's on the street. But to me, this shows that as a sheriff, he would have been learning the tricks of the trade, adapting and whatnot. Because Sam Jackson, Walter Goggins is the sheriff, but Sam Jackson's the one that's doing all the detective work for the back half of the movie. And then I feel like there's kind of a switch. Even there's that one moment where Sam Jackson kind of looks at him and smiles, kind of in approval. So I think he's the sheriff.
I think he's the sheriff as well. I forget specifically what character they're talking about, but I think it's when Oswaldo is talking about hanging someone, and then, I don't know if this theory just kind of goes in the trash because now I know Oswaldo isn't actually the hangman, but because he's like, oh, that character, he's like, that's the character I'm going to, like, he needs to get hung because he killed the last sheriff. So I felt like him knowing that knowledge, I was like, okay, well, he must be the sheriff, but... In the end, it's all up for interpretation, right?
That's
we didn't actually see his star.
Yeah. And one thing I just thought about too is he gets like super excited when he correctly called Joe Gage, but really he would have been right either way because all the guys there are bad guys. So it's kind of funny, really. He was popping off.
Funny,
yes, he was right that he was the one that actually poisoned the coffee, but really it didn't matter. Like they were all bad guys. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny.
For sure.
I think that's all my notes.
I got no notes.
I have no notes.
Trivia time?
Yeah.
So this was a notorious thing that happened before the movie. The script leaked online. Tarantino saying that he had only sent it to the cast, so he believes that one of them leaked it or maybe an agent.
Who do you think it was? Another whodunit?
Michael Madsen for sure.
Yeah.
You think so?
100%.
Why?
I just feel like he's the type of guy, like, look at this. Like, look, I'm coming back for Tarantino.
Well, he wouldn't know how to use his email correctly. Like, he'd accidentally CC
I think
someone.
he would pass it around. I've always thought that whenever he said that, I was just like, it's fucking Michael Madsen. I just know it. I know it's not Kurt Russell. I know it's Sam Jackson, but I'm just joking. But if I had that gun to my head, that's who I'd guess. Or maybe it's Channing Tatum. You know?
Yeah, it could be Channing. I'm going with youngest or oldest. I'm going Channing Tatum or the old guy in the chair. What's his name again? The actor?
Bruce Dern.
Yeah, I'm going just because he would have it lying around and like someone would be over at his house and be like, "Ooh, a Tarantino script. I'm gonna read that and then just take a pic." You know.
So writer-director did not want to make this movie. However, they did a brief reading of the script in Los Angeles. The cast was stunned and got excited for the film. With Sam Jackson persuading him to do the movie, Tarantino accepted. And he talked about this many times that he was going to maybe make it a book, he was going to make it a play, which makes sense. This is pretty much a play, to be honest. Like, we've talked about that before with other movies, how he has set pieces, especially like Reservoir Dogs is very play-like. But this is just even with the way he narrates, the breaks, the chapters. I feel this is the most play-like. So, yeah, lots of things were going on, but he still made this movie, obviously. According to writer and director Tarantino, his two primary cinematic influences were The Thing and Reservoir Dogs. Even though Tarantino wrote and directed the latter, it regardlessly remained an influence on his later work. So have you guys ever seen The Thing?
No, but I want to.
Like John Carpenter's, like the original?
Yeah. With Kurt Russell? Yeah, you should. It's very, very similar, especially Kurt Russell's in this movie. So I have some other facts about this that's kind of weird. But at one point, Joe Gage says, "A bastard's work is never done," which is the tagline for Inglourious Basterds. So if you didn't catch that.
That's cool.
Despite this being their sixth collaboration as actor-director, this is the first time Sam Jackson received top billing in a Tarantino movie.
Interesting.
There you go. Makes sense.
Who got more in Jackie Brown?
That's what I was just gonna.
Jackie Brown.
I'm forgetting her name. Yeah,
I guess so.
Pam Grier.
Pam Grier. Yeah, because she's Jackie Brown. Yeah. I guess Pulp Fiction. You could make the case for both of them, but
Vincent grabs it.
Travolta got it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Travolta
see.
was probably a bigger actor at the time, eh?
I think they're pretty even. He was, but Travolta had like a big fall from grace. He was like doing TV again and whatnot, but he was huge from Grease. So yeah, he had a little more clout. So There were subtle, we've talked about this before in other casts, there were subtle references to Django Unchained in this film. First, when the Major Warren is introduced, he's sitting on top of 3 corpses and a saddle that were previously owned by Django. And the second is Django's green corduroy jacket, which is sitting on the floor of the haberdashery. Both of these references have confirmed by Sam Jackson. Walter Goggins' character is a hillbilly in both films. In fact, this was going to feature Django, but Tarantino scrapped the idea. Tarantino explained in interviews only after the film was released, at the very earliest concept became the story, it was going to be a sequel to Django Unchained. He began a novel as Django and White How. However, he did not get too far with the novel before he realized that it didn't work to have a character you knew and felt was surely able to survive, or knew his being a good guy, right?
Someone that you would want to see win. Yeah.
Exactly. Tarantino withheld this trivia from interviews until after the film's release because he was already contesting false reports that the movie was a sequel to Django Unchained. He didn't further want to muddle public expectations. So I get why he did that. For me, because I didn't love this movie much, I would have loved to see Django in this, but that's why I still have much hope that Django Zorro thing happens, because I love that Django character. But I get why he did it for this story, but I think there is a version of this movie that would work as well, as far as him being in there. Honestly, if he's in this movie, I think you almost got to put him in Sam Jackson's role as the guy who figures it all out, because he would be the main character. So I get why he
would
did
have a lot of plot armor on his side, right? After you've seen him destroy how many people?
Yeah, I would love Marvel's doing What If. I'd love a What If Tarantino series, and What If Django was in there, because by Tarantino and Sam Jackson, it's in the same universe. And honestly, I got some other stuff coming up here. I think Oswald Morbius, Tim Roth's real name is revealed to be Pete Hitchcock's, making an ancestor in Glorious Bastards character Lieutenant Archie Hitchcock's Michael Fassbender. In an interview in December 2015, without naming characters, so it was not to reveal, Roth did confirm that he was the great-great-grandfather of that character. So if you look at them, they're all connected somehow. Cool. This gets me every time. According to Tarantino, the film was a metaphoric way of breaking down his feelings about The Thing. For example, the way he felt watching for the first time. The only film the director showed to the cast was The Thing. I just love that, because Kurt Russell's the main actor in that, and he's just sitting there, and Tarantino's keeps showing him The Thing. It's just yeah, I fucking made this movie 30 years ago, dude. Stop showing. I'm sure he wasn't annoyed, but it's just such a weird thing. Watch The Thing, and I would love to ask Kurt Russell that question. What were you doing? I don't need to watch this. So, and then I brought this up, or this is my last point, just because he was also rumored for other ones. Viggo Mortensen was in talks to play Jody, but had to decline due to scheduling conflicts. Josh Brolin was rumored to have been up for a major role, but nothing came of it. So that's something I would very much...
Josh Brolin or Viggo in a Tarantino movie. That's
I would have
something I'd
very much preferred Viggo over Channing Tatum. I actually like Channing Tatum, but it's just that sounds like an acting choice. So, and it's funny that, because I can't remember what movie it was. I think maybe even for Bastards, but Viggo in one of these trivias was rumored again to scheduling conflicts. So I wonder before... He says he has one more film, which I don't buy, but if he does just have one more, I wonder if he's going to find a way to get Viggo in there,
That'd be sweet.
That would be sweet.
But yeah, that's all the trivia. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. I'm kind of stuck where I'm going to rank some of these, but it's kind of forming. Yeah, it's a lot lower than I was expecting when I rewatched it. Like some things, some great performances, but nothing, like I said at the beginning, nothing that really attached me, nothing that I can say, oh, you have to see this Tarantino movie. And I think, like I said, it kind of shows off some of his flaws in other films that are little, kind of puts a magnifying glass on them. But still a good movie, still enjoy it, so 7 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Did I jump in front of you there?
That's all right.
Yikes.
It normally goes Travis, then you. So.
I love this movie. It's going to be, this one's really interesting to rank for me, because this one, Django, Death Proof, Kill Bill Volume 1 are all so close to each other for very, very different reasons. So I don't know how the hell I'm going to decipher between those ones, but I'm going to have to do it, and it's going to be fun.
I was kind of thinking about just some of the rankings in my mind. I'm like, fuck, it's going to be a late night, just trying to organize these. It's oh, is this one better than that one? Yeah. But
and
overall,
you can't just like quickly rewatch them.
No, absolutely not.
No, definitely not. 1.5 speed.
Overall, I really, really like this movie. I'm excited to rewatch it. It's definitely a lengthy one, but I don't know that I didn't feel like it was dragging too much. I feel like it might have just been because it was my first watch and I was really just engaged in like what was going on. I really wanted to know like the ending. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
I don't know. I just really enjoyed all the characters for the most part. Just like the transition from no action into action, I really liked, and just the build up of the tension was sweet to see, and the setting and all that stuff is great. So yeah, I love that movie.
Nice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings an end to the retro and reviewing part. So, like I said, next time we're going to be doing in a few days Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We're going to do that, and then we're going to do rankings episode. Probably do top 10 when we're doing characters. Are we doing? I guess it's kind of a combo of characters and performances because I might sometimes differentiate, but is that kind of like a combo of them?
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
Yeah,
there's a few. It's going to be definitely different than rankings episodes we've done for other retros. It sounds like.
So I think we'll do films. We'll do top 10 characters of some sort.
Definitely scenes.
We'll do scenes. Yeah, and then I want to do the pick 5 that you'd want to come back for the 10 and 5 actors he's never worked with.
Yeah.
That you'd want in there because I think there could be some fun in that. Thinking of a dream like. Pretty much give us that's why I'm picking 10. If you haven't get it, 10 for his 10th film. Pick your dream cast for a Tarantino movie.
So 10 people that have never been in his
movies.
No,
5 that have that you'd bring back, and then 5 that haven't. So nice
10 for the total.
Yeah. Because if we did just 10, everyone you bring back, you'd just bring back Hateful 8 almost. I'd add John Travolta and Uma Thurman. That's the movie. You know? So
that's it.
Christoph, Leo somewhere in there. Maybe I'd bump
Ginny's
Channing. I'll bump Channing.
Poor guy.
I like him.
Bring him and Jonah Hill back. Get like a 21 Jump Street thing.
There you go. You could do that. So thank you very much for tuning into all these episodes. If you haven't caught them all, go back. Just subscribe on our YouTube or our audio feeds in the description down below. But they're all back there, or they're going to be forward when we get to those 2 other episodes. If you really like what we did in this reviewing episode, you can give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to get to 200. We'd really appreciate a written review. That'd be our next milestone. That would help us out very, very much. So until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
As Wiedersehen.
As Wiedersehen. Damn it. Fuck.
Classic.
I was zoning out.
Classic.
You got to the rankings episode to figure that one out.